Informal climate finance ecosystem. Pakistan's climate finance system is informal and undeveloped. It lacks coordination with climate action, and policymakers have yet to fully define its structure for effective policy and financial alignment. Focus on international finance. Pakistan's fiscal crisis has shifted attention from prioritizing low-carbon development and community resilience to securing international climate finance. However, this rush to fill financial gaps undermines genuine climate action efforts. Historical policy development. Over the last 50 years, Pakistan has built an institutional framework for environmental protection, starting with the 1983 Pakistan Environment Protection Ordinance. However, these policies lack the mechanisms for effective decision-making, resource allocation, and overcoming structural barriers. Governance and coordination challenges. Key governance issues remain unresolved, particularly the roles and responsibilities between federal and provincial entities. This hinders provincial and sectoral climate action plans, which are vital for integrating climate goals into Pakistan's development agenda. Sectoral integration. Pakistan lacks specific sectoral action plans that integrate adaptation, mitigation, and green growth strategies. These are crucial for aligning national targets with international climate commitments. Local level implementation. Climate impacts are localized, but there is a failure to deliver resources at the grassroots level. Establishing and empowering local governments to create and implement climate resilience plans is essential for achieving climate justice. Stakeholder engagement. There is a need to involve diverse groups, including academia, SMEs, women, and youth, in climate efforts. Partnerships with the private sector should focus on investment in low-carbon technologies and infrastructure. Climate finance mechanisms. Pakistan needs to blend domestic and international funding with private sector contributions. Climate finance instruments, such as the Green Climate Fund, should be part of the ecosystem to support both mitigation and adaptation efforts. Holistic approach needed. The climate finance ecosystem must cover mitigation, adaptation, and loss and damage. Current efforts should prioritize community resilience and low-carbon development, instead of merely seeking financial aid without a robust system in place. Crux. Pakistan's climate finance system is underdeveloped and uncoordinated, focusing more on securing international funds than building resilience or reducing carbon emissions. The country lacks clear sectoral plans and local-level implementation and needs to improve governance, involve stakeholders, and establish effective climate finance mechanisms to address both mitigation and adaptation needs. Proposed mass audit plan. The government is considering launching a large-scale audit of individuals who file nil tax returns but exhibit high levels of income and wealth, e.g., foreign trips, luxury assets. The aim is to increase revenue collection by targeting tax evaders. Challenges with implementation. Auditing large numbers of individuals sounds promising but is fraught with difficulties. The Federal Board of Revenue, FBR, lacks the capacity to conduct extensive audits. Ethical issues prevent established auditing firms from collaborating with the FBR due to conflicts of interest. Previous audit failures. A similar audit program was attempted in 2013 through random computerized selection. Despite identifying significant unpaid liabilities, it failed to change the behavior of tax-evading firms. The main issues were the poor quality of data and the inability to recover detected liabilities due to lengthy adjudication processes. Lessons from past studies. A study analyzing the 2013 program showed that most detected liabilities went into adjudication, with only 2% being settled. Information on transactions between firms and end consumers, or between colluding firms, was harder to detect. However, transactions between arm's-length firms were easier to audit successfully. New context, new challenges. The present situation may differ from past experiences as more databases are digitized and data analysis tools have improved. The current focus is on individuals rather than firms. However, the effectiveness of this approach remains uncertain, as it relies on better data and the FBR's ability to turn detection into actual revenue recovery. Protecting taxpayer rights. While increasing audits might be necessary to curb evasion, it's crucial to maintain safeguards that protect taxpayers from arbitrary action by tax authorities. Crux. The government is considering a mass audit of individuals who file low or nil tax returns despite showing signs of wealth. However, this approach faces serious challenges, including the FBR's limited capacity and past failures in similar audits. The ability to detect and recover unpaid taxes relies on improved data quality and better systems. While this plan aims to increase revenue, it's important not to undermine taxpayer protections during the process. Pakistan's fragile state. Pakistan continues to struggle with internal conflicts across its institutions, as well as economic and governance issues. The nation has survived for 77 years, but many wonder how much longer it can endure without a clear national purpose or coherent governance. Lack of planning. Unlike many countries, Pakistan's political parties and governments have failed to prepare effective governance plans, often relying on reactive policies or outdated agreements. Indus Waters Treaty, IWT. The 1960 treaty between India and Pakistan is under threat as India has called for a renegotiation, citing changes in population and agricultural needs. This poses a grave danger to Pakistan, which depends heavily on the waters governed by the treaty. Modi's blunt stance that blood and water cannot flow together signals India's unwillingness to maintain the status quo. Mishandled deals. Pakistan has a history of botched deals, such as the Reko-Dick mining deal, where fines were avoided only through costly renegotiation. Similarly, the Iran-Pakistan pipeline project was drastically reduced to avoid penalties. Independent power producers, IPPs. The government's harsh measures to change agreements with IPPs, including shifting feedstock from imported coal to local Thar lignite, risk discouraging investment and further economic complications. Resurrecting Pakistan steel mills, PASMIC. Russia has shown interest in reviving Pakistan steel mills, a symbol of past economic mismanagement. This might be linked to newly discovered oil and gas reserves off Pakistan's coast. Future outlook. The government's actions across various sectors reflect a reactive, uncoordinated approach to national governance, which, if continued, could lead to further instability and missed opportunities. Crux. Pakistan faces severe internal and external challenges, from water disputes with India to mishandled economic deals and energy sector mismanagement. The lack of a coordinated national strategy and continued reliance on outdated agreements have left the country skating on thin ice. With India's threats to the Indus Waters Treaty and other unresolved issues, Pakistan's leadership must urgently adopt a proactive, forward-thinking approach to governance. Prevalence of child abuse. Child abuse, including physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, as well as neglect, is alarmingly common in Pakistan. Many cases, like the recent tragedy in Karachi, capture temporary attention, but most go unreported or neglected. Lack of a centralized database. Pakistan does not have a unified system to record or track child abuse cases, making it difficult to assess the true scale of the problem. Fragmented response system. Child abuse cases are handled in a disjointed manner, with various departments, police, healthcare, judiciary, lacking coordination. There is no standardized protocol for addressing or responding to abuse cases, leading to delays and inefficiencies. Uncoordinated stakeholders. Effective child protection requires seamless coordination between stakeholders, such as the police, child protection authorities, hospitals, and the judiciary. However, each operates independently, with little collaboration. Healthcare and mental health services. Hospitals often lack protocols for handling child abuse cases, and mental health services for abused children are frequently overlooked, hindering their recovery. Role of schools. Schools are vital in protecting children by establishing child protection committees and educating students about their rights, empowering them to seek help when needed. Need for an integrated child protection system. A group of concerned citizens has drafted a proposal for an integrated child protection system. This system would unify efforts across departments, create pre-designed forms, step-by-step guidelines, and clear monitoring protocols to handle child abuse cases efficiently. Building public trust. Simplifying procedures and ensuring transparency in the child protection system would build public trust and encourage more families to report cases of abuse. Legal framework. Despite being a signatory to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child and having child rights laws in place, enforcement in Pakistan remains weak. Urgency of action. Authorities must prioritize child protection and implement a coordinated system to ensure the safety and well-being of children, who represent the future of the country. Crux. Child abuse is a widespread but often overlooked issue in Pakistan, exacerbated by the lack of a unified, coordinated response from various departments. Despite existing child rights laws, enforcement is minimal and cases are often mishandled. An integrated child protection system involving schools, hospitals, the police, and the judiciary is urgently needed to protect children and provide justice. Authorities must act now to ensure the safety and rights of the country's future generation. FBR's new transformation plan. The Federal Board of Revenue, FBR, has introduced a transformation plan to broaden the tax net, eliminate the category of non-filers, and enforce stricter compliance through punitive measures. The plan also seeks to restrict tax evaders from making significant asset purchases or investments. Concerns over execution. Although the plan aims to target tax evaders, it shifts much of the tax scrutiny to other regulators and sellers rather than building FBR's own capacity. This could create challenges for tax-exempt individuals, such as those earning less than $600,000 annually, housewives, and Pakistanis abroad, who might face unnecessary complications. Undifferentiated approach. The plan does not adequately distinguish between tax evaders and middle-class taxpayers with lower incomes. This could lead to middle-income individuals facing the same restrictions as non-filers when trying to purchase assets or make financial transactions. History of failed reforms. Previous attempts by the FBR to boost tax revenues have often made the system more complex and costly for taxpayers, discouraging others from joining the tax net. Despite efforts, the tax-to-GDP ratio has only marginally improved, rising from 8% in 2000 to 9.5% today. In comparison, countries like India and Nepal have significantly increased their tax-to-GDP ratios during the same period. Need for policy and institutional reforms. Other countries have achieved better tax performance by implementing equitable, fair, and simple tax regimes through policy and administrative reforms, not just punitive actions. Pakistan needs to address tax equity and eliminate wasteful exemptions amounting to $4 trillion. Potential burden on existing taxpayers. While measures to prevent tax evasion are necessary, FBR's new plan seems to focus on squeezing existing taxpayers to meet revenue targets instead of genuinely broadening the tax net. Call for detailed execution strategy. The FBR must clarify how it intends to execute the transformation plan without unfairly impacting compliant taxpayers or tax-exempt groups. Crux. The FBR's new plan to broaden the tax net and penalize tax evaders could create unintended problems for lower-income and exempt individuals, while relying too much on other regulators to enforce scrutiny. Despite its good intentions, the plan lacks clarity on execution and risks further complicating the tax system, as previous reforms have failed to achieve significant revenue growth. For meaningful improvement, Pakistan needs to focus on making its tax system equitable, transparent, and easier to comply with, rather than placing additional burdens on existing taxpayers. Typhoid in Pakistan. Pakistan faces a severe typhoid crisis, particularly among children, due to poor sanitation, contaminated water, and the misuse of antibiotics. The country has the worst rate of typhoid in South Asia, with the extensively drug-resistant XDR strain posing a major threat. XDR typhoid, this superbug strain, is resistant to most antibiotics, complicating treatment efforts. Multiple outbreaks of XDR typhoid have been reported, affecting thousands of children. Medical experts warn that if not controlled, XDR typhoid could become even more dangerous, with drugs unable to combat infections. Causes: poor sanitation. Inadequate sanitation, especially in urban slums, has led to the spread of typhoid. Overprescription of antibiotics. Many doctors in Pakistan prescribe antibiotics unnecessarily, contributing to drug resistance. Incomplete treatment and self-medication. Patients often don't complete their antibiotic courses or self-medicate without consulting doctors, worsening the problem. Need for action. Self-regulation by medical community. Physicians should only prescribe antibiotics when absolutely necessary. Overprescription must be curbed. Pharmacy regulation. Provincial health departments should ensure that pharmacies dispense antibiotics only with valid medical prescriptions. Vaccination. Vaccination drives should be ramped up, particularly targeting children. Parents should be educated on the importance of immunization against typhoid. Hygiene education. Children and adults must be taught proper hygiene practices to reduce the risk of contracting waterborne diseases. Long-term solutions. The state must ensure access to clean water and a healthier environment to reduce the prevalence of typhoid and other waterborne diseases. Crux, typhoid, particularly the drug-resistant XDR strain, has become a major health threat in Pakistan, especially due to poor sanitation, overuse of antibiotics, and self-medication. Doctors need to be more cautious in prescribing antibiotics, and pharmacies should strictly follow prescription rules. Vaccination campaigns and hygiene education can help prevent the spread of the disease, but the root cause, poor sanitation and contaminated water, must be addressed to safeguard public health. MDCAT controversy. The medical and dental college admission test is again facing allegations of paper leaks, cheating, and mismanagement, which are raising serious concerns about the exam's credibility. Allegations in Sindh and Islamabad. In Sindh, candidates from districts like Tharparkar and Kashmir reportedly scored unrealistically high marks up to 100%, with claims that some paid large sums up to Rs 1.6 million to cheat. In Islamabad, students accused a cheating mafia within Shahid Zulfikar Ali Bhutto Medical University of manipulating the exam. Denials and investigations. Dow University, responsible for conducting the exam in Sindh, denied any wrongdoing and dismissed the allegations as attempts to damage its reputation. Protests erupted due to out-of-syllabus questions and inconsistent difficulty levels across regions. Some students demanded grace marks or a retest. Impact on reputation. If these allegations are proven true, they could seriously damage the reputation of Pakistani doctors globally, similar to the previous aviation scandal involving pilots' licenses. This threatens to erode trust in the nation's medical education system. Need for reform. There are calls for a thorough, independent investigation to address malpractice and administrative failures. The Young Doctors Association suggested handing over the MDCAT to reputable institutions to restore trust. Introducing online testing with better monitoring mechanisms could enhance transparency and prevent future cheating incidents. Urgent government action. Swift government intervention is necessary to investigate and reform the MDCAT system. Delay in addressing these issues may worsen the crisis and further damage trust in the medical education system. Crux. The MCAT exam, which determines admission to Pakistan's medical and dental schools, is facing serious allegations of paper leaks, cheating, and mismanagement, particularly in Sindh and Islamabad. These issues threaten to tarnish the reputation of Pakistani doctors globally. There is a strong need for urgent reform, including independent investigations, improved exam monitoring, and possible online testing to restore credibility and ensure fairness.